This is our second session with our quote YTN Book Club, taking a look at 1984, and its relevance continues while that dingbat, whatever her name is, Jada Dinkowitz, the disinformation czarina, hangs around. So with chapter 2, we're having a little back and forth on this, and the thing that I want to jump on here. I mean, all right, let me put it this way. My take on chapter 2 is, they spend a lot of time talking about the personal dynamics between Winston and his neighbors. So there's a part there where you have the children singing to this military music on the telescreen. So right off the bat, you get the impression these kids are really being indoctrinated, and they're having fun being indoctrinated. Meantime, the mother, Parsons?
Yeah, it's Parsons, but you should mention that at the end of chapter 1,
yes,
Winston was just nervous about what he had written in the diary.
Oh, yes,
that's
that right.
Down with Big
That's
Brother.
Right. Sure.
And, even writing it, even thinking it is a crime. And then it ends with the knock on the door. Turns out to be Mrs. Parsons.
Right.
Or Comrade Parsons.
Oh, that's right. Yes, Comrade
yes.
Parsons.
But it turns out to be her. Yes.
Yes. Okay. So you can relax now. However, so excuse me. Okay. So you have this interaction going on, and Winston spends some time, shall I say, being worried about how these kids can easily be snitches, and they're going to grow up to be even worse. And it just makes his life, every moment that he works, even more scary and uncertain. So I think even something as innocent as children playing introduces this tension in background that can be very disturbing, to put it simply.
I don't think it was it wasn't really innocent, so he gets called over to her house to fix the sink, right? Remember?
Right.
And he gets in there, and the kids have like the posters on the wall of Big Brother. They're in like the uniform. What was the uniform? They described it like yellow colors, whatever. They were dressed like the uniform. And what were they called? They were called Junior Spies. So it's like an actual little organization, right? And as soon as he walked in, here he is working really hard over the sink, disgusting as the way he described it. I was like, and the kids are accusing him of thought crime. They're calling him, they called him Emmanuel Goldstein at the end.
Right.
And the way he describes it, I mean, the kids were really like hardcore. Like they were really, really serious. And you get the sense that even Mrs. Parsons is afraid of her own kids. And one thing that it reminded me of, nowadays kids in school, even my own children once said to me, they're like, oh, I'm going to report you to whatever. I don't even know, what is it called? something?
DCS.
I said, okay, yeah, go do that. The kids nowadays, they do feel like I see it more in the schools. Teachers are worried about offending kids. Kids are going to get teachers fired. They talk about things like this. There's that little parallel. The Hitler Youth, right? They basically, what they do, and it's very open in the book 1984, is they monitor adults for disloyalty to the party. And it's crazy.
Yep.
Yeah. And for whatever reason, they are as angry as they are, as mean as they are completely loyal and dedicated to the party.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right, and then he goes on to introduce that fat guy.
Well, that's the husband.
Oh, the husband, yes.
Oh, no, O'Brien? Who are you talking about?
No.
So then after he does that, he's walking away back to his apartment.
His fellow employee, Tom?
Tom.
Yeah, of course, here it says Parsons was, so I guess that was her husband, yes.
Yeah, he's not really significant in the chapter.
Well, but I mean, I think it's a cool phrase. He was fattish, but active man of paralyzing stupidity, a mass of imbecile enthusiasm.
Yeah, that goes back to what you said, like, is there anything in here that's not really,
yes.
accidental? And there's so much in here. So as you know, he's walking away, and then the kid gets him with a slingshot, and it's painful. He describes the pain as very severe. In fact, it's even hurting him a couple of hours later. So he goes back into his apartment, and then immediately
Wouldn't that be a metaphor, that pain? I mean, the kids turning him in or something. I mean, getting hit with a
probably.
Yes, it's like being called out as a traitor.
Yeah. Yeah, and the fact there's no punishment for the kid. Like, you can, like, literally hurt an adult. Like, they're in pain hours later, and it's just no big deal. Yeah, and Winston even says at one point, these kids look like they want to kill me. And then the kid does his best shot. But anyway, so then he goes back into his little apartment, and he has that dream where he hears that we shall meet in a place where there is no darkness.
Yes,
I think that comes back. That comes later in the book. That's a reference to when he's in the Ministry of Love with O'Brien, but Ministry of Love, which is jail.
I like the way you said it the first time.
Love.
Yes.
Ministry of Love.
Right.
Yeah, well, again, that's another example of doublethink, like all the ministries. And that's another thing that comes up in this chapter. The whole concept of doublethink, which is like the propaganda that they're feeding you. Like, if you look up the definition of doublethink, which I did, accepting two conflicting beliefs as both true. Okay. To know and to not know. Psychological manipulation. It's basically, propaganda.
Right.
And so anyway, so he thinks about the dream that he had. He thinks that voice is O'Brien. He's still not sure if O'Brien is a good guy or a bad guy, right? We'll find out in the end. It's funny. You'll see as you go through the rest of the book.
No spoiler alerts here.
Okay.
Right.
Ah, shucks. I already did it like twice. So another thing that comes on the TV screen, which is really interesting, is the chocolate rationing. So they throw this really good news, or supposedly good news, about how they won a victory in the war. Right. So that comes on the screen, which never goes off. And then right after that, they talk about how they are going to... The chocolate ration, now this is really interesting. The chocolate ration is going to be lifted, but what they're actually doing is it's going from 30 to 20. So they describe it like they are increasing it, like they're giving you something, but they're actually taking it away from you.
Right.
Yeah, and that's another example of doublethink, right? Anyway,
I seem to think that when you read the fine print in a lot of congressional legislation, you see the same thing.
Right. Yeah. So what else in this chapter? Oh, it's funny how back to the kids. I thought this was kind of funny. These kids who are in the junior spies, they are considered what do they call them? Child heroes.
Yes,
when you
right.
report an adult, you are. It reminds me of that. Some of these kids you see with that one with the Greta, whatever her name is.
Greta.
Yeah. She's just this child hero.
Oh,
yeah.
You mean Thunberg?
Yeah, her.
Her.
She's all the kids who do something really bad, like report adults, get adults punished, and God knows what happens to them. They are considered heroes, basically, for turning in adults, for things like thought crime. Then Winston goes on, the demonstrations are another thing. I mean, that I don't want to put spoiler alert, but they have demonstrations against Big Brother, you're going to see, where they're demonstrating against the chocolate rations. We'll bring that next time, because that's going to come more into the next chapter. So Winston, he has to go back to work. He came home, he had some whiskey, whatever he has to do to get through the day. And he just basically realizes that, in the end, he's going to be vaporized. He is guilty of thought crime, and there's nothing he can do to it. His struggle, I guess, which becomes his struggle in the whole novel, is just trying to hold on to his beliefs. And he talks a lot in chapter 2 about how if he doesn't write it down, he says he's doing it more for himself, for then maybe somebody to find the book. But it's funny because he puts the book away in such a way that he describes the way he does this. He puts like a little piece of I don't know what it is. He describes it as dust, but he puts that on the cover of his journal so that he says to himself, if somebody's going to move this,
you'll know.
I'll surely know. So it's that serious. Like just the act of writing in a journal, you can be vaporized for. We started to talk a little bit last time about what it meant to be vaporized.
Right.
It's basically like you're gone. You not only are you gone, but a big, big, big insult is you never existed. Something else we didn't mention. When Mrs. Parson comes to the door, Winston talks about how you don't refer. This is like kind of relevant to today in a way, maybe.
Yeah.
You don't refer to people as Mr. or especially Mrs. It's comrade, comrade, comrade.
Yes.
There's I don't know. It just reminds me of how today we're kind of trying to get rid of
I guess
blurring the lines. I guess between
comrade's just one more pronoun.
Exactly. It's like the them or the it or whatever. Yeah, it's the neutral pronoun, which kind of is what's going on today. There's so many things that you don't look at. What I wanted to say something else about the kids. The kids nowadays, I had my list. The child hero, remember. I did have something else to say. But, when he shoots him, he does call him Goldstein. There's something else I wanted to say about the kids, though. Child hero, chocolate rations. I don't remember the part I wanted to say. I wanted to tell you one other thing about the kids.
All right, well, while you're mulling that.
Oh, I remembered it. The public hanging. Remember that the kids were saying that they wanted to go. The mother says, well, they're upset because I won't let them go to the public hanging.
Right.
And the public hanging is usually some war criminal or somebody who supposedly said something against the state. And they make a big spectacle about it. They have it about once a month. Everybody goes. Not everybody goes. You go and you basically watch someone get executed for going against the party. And this violence that's in the book, the 2-minute hate, it's almost like, it's just, that's what goes on. It's people have become kind of numb to certain things. And,
in the 18th and 19th centuries, hangings were common.
No, I know that. But, this, we're supposed to be like a little more civilized, right? I mean, this is now where
Not these guys.
Right. So, the public hanging, and there was something else about that.
There's nothing civil about being vaporized.
Yeah, yeah. And just the fact that, my mother passed away recently, and she likes to think about how she's going to be remembered, and the tombstone, and the death.
Yeah.
Vaporized, it's almost like an insult. It's like you didn't even, matter at all to anybody. Yeah. It's pretty cold.
All right, so what I want to do from this point here, because at the beginning of each segment, I'd like to, your credentials and what you do for work, telling people who you are. And so can we do an introduction
Sure.
type of thing, another introduction?
All right.
So we're going to do this in 3, 2,
Okay.
1.
Right. Hi, ladies and gentlemen. This is Kurt Ratnowski, the publisher of Yankee T News. We're doing Chapter 2 tonight of George Orwell's 1984. And Mary Anne and I have been discussing this. But I think what we'd like to do is also tell a little bit more about Mary Anne's background, because she has fought with this for such a long time.
No, I'm
all those sweet kids.
Well, I do love my students, but I am a teacher. I'm not really I'm just someone who's studied this book, kind of read it with kids, and that is my background. I am currently teaching, although not in the job I had for 17 years. We won't get into that. And so I'm a teacher, science, math, and language arts, and I live in Connecticut. What else can I say?
Yeah,
but I think I'm getting out really soon.
I'm
on my way out.
Yeah,
Sorry.
well, I know. Well, that's a whole other discussion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So that's good.
If that wasn't good, I don't know. But
That's
I don't
fine.
know what